Hello, fight fans, and welcome to the Combat Challenge podcast. My guest is both a light heavyweight and a middleweight professional athlete who has had over 50 MMA fights. 20 of those have been in the UFC. And once again, this Saturday, he steps back into the octagon in Las Vegas to compete against Julian Marquez, Mr. Sam Smiling Alvey. Sam, thank you so much for joining us, my brother.
Hey, it is my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Cool, man. I was just admiring that bridge behind you, my friend.
It's the Golden Gate Bridge. They're thinking about renaming it after me.
Well, it's nearly as good as my brick wall, if you have a look. Sam, I know you've got a crazy week ahead because you're competing this Saturday. Now you're fighting against Julian. What do you know about Julian, and how would you like the fight to play out?
I know Julian's fought 3 times in the UFC, and every time has been like Fight Night. I mean, he has got more heart than he knows what to do with, and I'm really looking forward to fighting someone who is still a threat round 3.
For sure, brother, for sure. Now, you used to compete in middleweight. You went up to light heavyweight, and this fight's going to be at middleweight. And if so, why have you decided to fluctuate the weights?
The biggest reason is because I couldn't win a damn fight at light heavyweight. Yeah, I started off strong, and then I hit a brick wall. 2 Mark Goddard referee calls, and then a couple judges' decisions that just robbed me. And so I can't, I'm going back down to middleweight because I'm hoping the judges see me as the bigger opponent and give me the nod if it goes that way.
For sure. And you used to compete at middleweight, Sam. You went up to light heavy. You're dropping back to middleweight. Is middleweight a natural kind of weight for you to compete at? And did you keep that discipline when you went up to light heavy when it comes to your weight?
I'm about the same size. I'm about the same weight, but I'm far bigger now than I used to be. So I always walk around 220 to 230, somewhere in there. When I was at 185, I was about 220 to 230. When I was at 205, I was between 220 and 230. As I went up, I leaned out, I got stronger. Now I'm on my way back down. The muscle is still there. I'm a lot leaner than I used to be, but it's going to be a bigger cut for me.
And Julian is not a slim guy himself, right?
He's not. If he was fighting anybody else, he would look like the bigger fighter. But at this fight, I think I'm going to be way bigger than he is.
And if it all goes according to plan, my brother, how would you like the fight to play out?
All right. If it all goes according to plan, on the way into the ring, he's going to trip and break his toe. At which point the bell's going to ring and he's going to be hobbling around. I'm going to come out, catch him clean right off the bat, and that's the end of the fight.
One of the things you touched on was not leaving it in the hands of the judges. Now, I've seen 1 or 2 interviews that you've done, and you've mentioned that before. Is that a significant thing? And for you, are you really going to try and make sure that it's not left in the hands of the judges?
Yeah, every judge in at least the UFC, but I might expand it to the world, is terrible. They're bad at their job and they don't know what they're doing. To put it mildly. No, that you watch week after week, it goes to the judges, and you have no idea who's going to win. You have no idea if the judges are going to get it right or if they're going to get it wrong. And I think it must have happened this way, is especially my last fight, I was the smaller opponent. The boy I was fighting was significantly larger than me. So even though it was not a close fight, it was pretty dominant me for 2 rounds, and round 3 was close. They called it a draw. I have to assume it's because they saw the other guy and the other guy was bigger than me. So if I'm going to drop back down to middleweight, I'm going to be one of the biggest middleweights in the division. I think it'll be like me and Paulo Costa is the 2 biggest guys now. Even though he's shredded. I'm going back down. I'm not that shredded. But yeah, I'm going back down, and I'm going to be one of the bigger opponents. And I think I'll be real comfortable in the ring doing that.
And you mentioned Paul. Now, are you around about 6'2", and is he similar height to you?
Yeah, I'm 6'2". I have no idea how tall Paulo Costa is. I assume he's the same. I assume he's about 6'2". He looks about 6'2". I know Julian Marquez is 6'2". Or so that's what the UFC says. He's got little arms though. He's got 72-inch reach, where I'm closer to 77 inches. The reach, so my reach will be greater than his, but we'll be about the same height.
For sure, brother. Now, you mentioned about the judges. Now, sometimes I think a bit of unconscious bias kicks in with judges. So, for example, if a judge is from a striking background, sometimes without even realizing, when somebody strikes, it triggers more than what it would do for a different judge. And I think maybe that's why it's a bit not just confusing, but also it's up in the air and you're not really sure how it's going to end, right?
Yeah, that could definitely have something to do with it. I think a lot of judges overscore jujitsu, and some of them overscore wrestling, and then there's the striking in there. And I think the rules, on top of the judges not doing their job appropriately, I do think the rules in MMA are so convoluted that there is almost no reason there should ever be a 10-8 round. And now they've put 10-8 rounds in there, and judging has just gotten worse. They don't know what a 10-8 round is. Nobody knows what a 10-8 round is. And I wish they'd get rid of them. It's only a 3-round fight. So one 10-8 round ruins the fight. And I think that's being proved with every event where there is a 10-8 round.
So, Sam, this is something that a few athletes that have mentioned. What is the solution, if any, to deal with this issue?
Well, I would go twofold. One, there should be no more 10-8 rounds. I mean, in an extreme case, like Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard, the title fight, that was a 10-8 round, where Maynard almost finished him for 5 minutes. Outside of that, I call everything 10-9. And then the second thing I would do, and it's actually Joe Rogan's idea, but I love it, just have more judges. So instead of 3 judges, 3 is a number that somebody just picked. Why not have 5 or 9 or 11 judges? There's no reason not to. And then you would weed out the bad judges. You would weed out the judges that are consistently on the wrong side of the card. And then fire them. Then fire those judges. I think those 2 things would solve a lot of the judging problems in the UFC.
For sure, brother. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Sam. Now, there's some cool fights on this fight card this Saturday in Vegas. Is there any fight that you're looking to watch? Maybe not whilst you're preparing, but after that, and if so, why is it a certain fight that catches your eye?
Yeah, the fight that broke my heart is Vettori versus Till. Oh, I was looking forward to that fight more than any other fight in the upcoming UFCs. I didn't know who was going to win. Both of them are wonderful fighters. I've trained with Vettori once or twice, so of course I'm pulling for him. But I've met Till, and Till's been wonderful. And so I was really looking forward to that fight. And then Till broke his collarbone. So legitimately, he is pulling out. It just broke my heart when he got sick or got hurt. The fight on my card I'm probably looking forward to the most outside of mine is Perry is fighting on it. And I always like watching him fight. He's such a brute striker. And the boy he's fighting is real technical. So that could be a fun fight.
And do you have any idea who's going to be in his corner?
I'd assume his girlfriend or his wife. I would assume. I don't know. Maybe Till will be there. Till had offered to corner him before.
He did, brother. Now, with Darren Till, because he's from the UK and we kind of leaning towards him, and it's a shame because we were so looking forward to that fight. But hopefully that might happen in the future, right?
I hope it does. I know Kevin Holland is a stud, but I think Vettori's going to get through him pretty easily. And then hopefully by the time Vettori wants to fight again, Till is healed up and they can get that fight rescheduled.
For sure, brother. Now, one for you, my friend. You've had all these professional fights and you fought in the UFC for this will be your 21st fight. Out of all those fights, is there any fight that has been the most rewarding for you? It don't have to be a win. It could be some adversity over weight cuts. Is there anything that's most rewarding that sticks in your mind that you could share with the viewers?
I loved my fight against Nate Marquardt. Nate Marquardt was my coach on The Ultimate Fighter. He's one of the coaches of my team on The Ultimate Fighter. And I was one of those few fighters in the history of the world that got to fight their coach. And I won. It wouldn't have been as much fun had I lost, but it was a really good fight. He hit me harder than anyone other than Dan Henderson has hit me. And I had a blast in the cage with him. So that's my favorite fight I've had in the UFC.
Now, Dan Henderson, there's a reason they call him the H-bomb, right?
Oh my goodness. There's not a person alive that hits as hard as him. I mean, it is crazy the amount of power he gets.
And I remember watching the fight with Mike Bisping, and then when Bisping fell and he went in after, oh man, it's just the power.
And then Hendo, with the class act that he is, he says, well, I figured he needed that to help keep his mouth shut a little longer. That was really funny. And that was just as Hendo as it gets.
For sure, brother. Well, listen, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing chatting to you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. And hopefully, I look forward to speaking to you, my brother, when we talk about your win and how you won, if that's cool with you, my friend.
Count me in, my friend. I will be here.